Sports professor Rick Horrow at the U.S. Open, the venerable U.S. Open. Before we start with the economics, let me just give you a couple of numbers. $150 million, the published cost of the new roof on Arthur Ashe. By the way, a rain delay today, canceling the afternoon matches, but they're still playing and will continue to play the day and night. We'll talk about that. $600 million is the number that we've seen about renovating the entire complex in the last 5 years. 700,000 the spectators who are here over a 2-week event, the largest event of its kind in the world. There ain't anything bigger. 800 million, the economic impact of this event in New York and the region, probably more. Then, we'll get to it, 98,000, which is the number of tennis balls apparently that are used in these 2 weeks. And if they're stacked end to end, apparently it'll be 12 times the size of One World Trade Center. You got to stack them up without the wind. Did you come up with that number? Chris Widmaier, by the way, one of the managing directors of the USTA. Was that your number? That has you written all over it.
Well, you know, Rick, we try. You got to capture people's imagination to get them into the sport.
Well, and clearly that's the whole name of this game. First, let's talk about economics as well. $50 million purse, bigger than ever. 3.7 for the men's and women's champion, equal. You set a lot of standards here, and it keeps getting bigger.
I mean, like the players are the biggest part of the game, right? So you have to pay them what you feel is fair. And certainly the U.S. Open has stepped up in that area, and we now are providing the largest purse in tennis history and probably one of the largest paydays in all of sports.
And you started making that commitment in 1973 of equal prize money, and all the majors at varying degrees of intensity are following suit. Obviously good trend and something that other sports can learn from.
I would agree with that. I mean, like, we do have a unique benefit in tennis. 51% of our fan base is female. 51% of folks that come on the grounds are female. So you don't see that type of balance in other sports. Some are getting closer to that, but you know, we still are the most gender friendly, if that's the proper term. So you harken back to 1973, as you just did. I think the USTA has been ahead of the curve on this issue. You know, we are putting women chair umps into the men's final match, and you know, we try to have a gender neutral lenses. We're not looking at things from a gender base. We just want the best of the best.
The event this year, Djokovic, Raonic, Murray, Wawrinka, Nishikori on the men's side, Serena on the women's side. A lot made of the fact they're all not here. Ticket sale issues, corporate issues, buzz issues, is it impacting the tournament?
You know, I would say no, and I knock on wood for that. I mean, our ticket sales are still very healthy. You know, and I think it comes down to not only ticket sales, but I think our opening night ratings were good. You know, certainly from the corporate point of view, no impact. You know, at the end of the day, somebody's got to win the tournament. So historically, as you know, we have featured our former champions in the way we market this event. Now we'll be featuring future champions because there's stories to be told. And this is the natural order of sports. I mean, you know this, Rick. Times change. Yeah. Young stars emerge, so we'll see who has it.
Young stars. So according to the numbers, we've got 9 U.S. men ranked in the top 100 and 14 U.S. women, many younger, obviously, many ready to take their place. You have a very unique financial commitment here. A lot of the budget for training the kids comes from the revenues generated by this event and the USTA. Talk about that for a minute.
Well, I mean, that is our mission, right? We need to grow and develop the sport of tennis. You know, and now that's kind of morphed into an additional imperative for us to make tennis look like America. So we need to reinvest the revenues that we earn from the U.S. Open, which is healthy, into growing the game. And as part of that commitment, this year in the Lake Nona area of Orlando, we have built the USTA National Campus, which is, you know, truly the first time we can deliver our mission from a state-of-the-art facility. All of this we're doing with our money. We do not ask for public funding. We don't want to build this on the back of our fans, you know, by hiking ticket prices all over the board or things of that nature. So, you know, you have this crown jewel of an event here located in New York every year. We've relocated our community tennis, our recreational tennis, and our player development into one facility under one umbrella there in Orlando. That cost us $60 million. It's a fantastic facility, but Our goal is to bring all these things together in a much more holistic way than we have in the past to make the greatest impact on the game.
As a managing director, and you're not going to micromanage this question anyway, you wouldn't, but the published reports say 291 million or so of revenue generated last year, for example. Break down generally where that money goes, generally.
That's, well, as we said, 50 million goes to the players. We invest back into the 17 sections that are putting, rackets and balls into communities around the country, about 110, 120 million. We have debt service because, as I said, we are transforming the National Tennis Center here, right? The USTA Billie Jean King National Tennis Center, the home of the U.S. Open, has been completely revitalized, transformed. As you mentioned, roof over the Arthur Ashe Stadium, new grandstand built. We're at the midpoint of the new Louis Armstrong Stadium. We've completely redone the southern campus. It's bigger, it's better, it's bolder, but that costs some bucks. And so now we have to service that debt. So that is kind of like the three tranches that account for most of the money.
And of that debt service, one of the interesting things about facilities is you make some decisions that are directly related to revenue, and you make some that are related to fan comfort as well. How did the roof and the other 600 million or so 5-year plan balance that? Is most of it for revenue generation purposes? Is most of it for fan comfort purposes, or is it a mixture?
Well, it's definitely a mixture. The roof is the prime example of that. That would probably be the best example I could use to answer that question. If you were looking at this as a pure return on investment, a pure economic decision, you would never build the roof. Why would you?
Yeah.
You already have the tickets sold. You already have your corporate deals in place. You already have your broadcast deals. So the fact that you make an arena out is irrelevant. Yeah. It is not impacting. You've now invested all this money, 150 million or so, in a technological marvel that nobody thought could get done, but technology's improved, people get smarter, and we now have a roof. But you did that because that's the right thing for your fans, it's the right thing for the players, and it is the right thing for your partners. So that's why we did it.
It's the right thing for majors too. I mean, this is for a British audience as well, and Wimbledon's into it, French into it, Australia into it, and now it looks like it almost is a condition precedent for continuing to have a major for stability and other reasons to make sure you have a roof on your primary stadium.
There's no question about that, and in fact, you bring up Wimbledon in Australia, they have multi-roofs. The French are working towards that right now at Roland Garros, and therefore our number 2 stadium, which will be operational in 2018, will also have a retractable roof, so we will now have 2 roofs here at the NTC, or the National Tennis Center, forgive me.
Corporate activation, 24 major partners, but the big ones, the blue chip ones, JP Morgan and Chase and IBM and Mercedes-Benz and American Express, Emirates and others, it's the top of the crop. I assume they're excited or they wouldn't have continued to do it. Something special about the activation of a corporate partner here for the 2 weeks?
Well, I can tell you what my opinion is, right? And this is what I understand. First of all, the U.S. Open is unique in the sense that it's always in the same location. It's not the Super Bowl, which is in various markets, or the World Series, where you're unsure where it may be until the playoffs are done.
Unless you're a Mets fan, and you're not sure. You are sure.
And then
Never mind.
You have the same with hockey and the same with basketball. So that one location, though, happens to be the financial capital of the United States and one of the financial capitals of the world, obviously, in New York. It's also perfectly situated on the calendar. The end of summer as a transition to the beginning of fall, which everybody knows, in a sense, is like the new start of a business year. Yeah. So it is built for hospitality. It is a premium event. We do an unbelievable job here. I don't want to sound not humble, but it is true, and it attracts global business leaders. In those things come together, and the fact that we are continually pushing ourselves and pushing that envelope to make it a better place, I think just works for us, and we are able to attract the bluest of blue chips.
By the way, when you valued the Chase deal and the increment for the roof, was there some kind of analysis that talked about the LaGuardia landing pattern and how many people saw Chase flying into LaGuardia Airport?
Look, I think, it's not lost on Chase, the visibility, and it's not only LaGuardia, obviously, it's what it happens television-wise. The other thing that, a growing phenomenon for us from a business point of view and an economic point of view, one of our drivers, of course, is international television. It was interesting talking to the head of sponsorship for Emirates, and, when this is a few years back, and thinking about the U.S. Open, thinking about tennis. Obviously, they're very engaged, very active in sports around the world. And he was in New Zealand, and he turned on the television, and he saw a U.S. Open Series event. And he's like, I got to get involved. I'm here, I got to.
If we're only that simple. But it's incremental, it obviously is.
So now what you're seeing is because of the explosion of technology, the access that people have around the world that they didn't have before, beyond the television, through devices, etc., our rights, and others similar to us, but our rights are becoming more and more valuable internationally. If you're somebody like Chase or anybody else, that's part of the picture.
Yeah, and it sounds like a sales pitch. Widmaier doesn't sell. He just is very factual, straight down the middle, as you could see, one of the managing directors of this event. Economic impact, everybody's eyes glaze over when you talk numbers. It's always the last paragraph of an article. Yet, 700,000 people, 40% come from out of town, out of region. The hotel rooms are significant, marked up even higher. So we understand the reasons for an $800 million economic impact, don't we?
Oh, absolutely. And, so you're 100%, it might actually even be a little higher than 40% now, Rick. I think we're up to about 46, 47%.
Well, we got to redo the numbers. 46 or 47% from outside the New York metro area. So it's not dollars that my wife and I, we live here in this area. Are we going to go to a Yankee game? We're going to go to a Broadway show. We're going to go out to dinner. So we have discretionary income, but it's the same amount. Yeah. If I were to go to Chicago, if I were to go to London, if I were going to go wherever else, well, now I'm giving you my money. So, that's obvious, right? So of those 47%, I think 15% are now from overseas. Yeah. So they're international visitors, so that's totally, that's hotels, that's other cultural institutions, museums, restaurants, plays, etc. So this is the economic engine that is the U.S. Open is phenomenal, and it's great for the city of New York. You've been doing this for how long?
This is my 14th U.S. Open.
And so give us a general sense from the gut of the health of the tennis industry, broadly defined.
Look, I think we're in good shape, but nobody can rest on their laurels. We always have to be pushing ourselves. When we think about this, right, I'll give you an example if you don't mind. So the week before the U.S. Open, as you know, is our qualifying tournament. So 128 men, 128 women try to scrap and claw and battle to get into the main draw. And it was called U.S. Open qualifying. Well, what the heck does that mean? Yeah. So now we call it Fan Week. It's free. You can come to this tennis center and watch qualies for free. We added an experience, a fan fest for the first time. It's not like that hasn't been done before at the South Street Seaport. You can still get a ticket for $30. This is all about accessibility. That's what we need to do a better job on. Showing people that the sport is accessible, bringing them in, all communities, all ages. As I said earlier, our goal is to make tennis look like America. And I think we're making strides.
And the future of this event and the future of tennis in America relative to the kids, there's a published book that's circulating in the press room, a pamphlet about Team USA and the resources and how to create the next batch of players. What does it take, and are Americans and American tennis, is it on its way to bringing the next superstars up the way they need to be?
Well, we're certainly hopeful of that. The USTA has kind of evolved its strategy and its philosophy over times, and what we want to do is show the private coaches, the private industry, and the players that are coming up that this isn't about the USTA. This is about tennis in America. We want the champions, obviously. I'm stating the obvious, but we do. Yeah. We haven't had a Grand Slam champion since 2003. America likes winners. We want to breed winners, and this whole Team USA approach is what we're doing to do that.
So we do this day 2 of a 2-week event here, this interview. Extended forecast look good? You okay?
Actually, it looks fantastic.
Your hair's a little gray. You okay today?
We got a little rain today, but you know what? We have a roof.
Yeah, well put, ladies and gentlemen. So the bottom line is the tennis industry, Chris Widmaier, one of the managing directors of the event, you've got a $6 billion tennis industry in the U.S., much more than that globally, 300,000 tennis courts here, much more than that globally. And the way American tennis goes, so goes in many ways international tennis and the U.S. Open, incredibly important for the future of tennis generally in the entire sport as well. Rick Horrow, see you next time.